Hello there. Following on from the previous email, which I named the Epstein class, I think with good reason, um, in terms of the broad scale degeneracy of those people who manage our key institutions and so on and so forth. I wanted to sort of highlight a couple of communications we received from so Tyneside Council, Deirdre Ryan and her colleagues, and how they it demonstrates not only the absolute depravity of this child trading model in how they sort of expunge the child's emotional attachment to the parent, and in our case, quite an extreme scenario of cultural genocide. The erasure of her Polish culture. These are quite clearly crimes against humanity. So it's been quite they punished us for trying to stand up for our daughter's Polish heritage, because her mother dared to offer her, write her some lovely emotional letters, which we've got pictures of, which Deirdre Ryan has blocked. And also reminding her that she's a Polish citizen and she can contact the Polish consulate for support. Now all that's been blocked and censored, and because of that, we're all subject to this inhumane treatment of presents being censored. We can't give Easter eggs, we can't give birthday presents, everything has to be read. It really is North Korean style censorship with the deepest depravity that you can imagine. So I guess the other way of looking at this is you've got a depraved system and people within it who are willing to cover their own corruption and depravity by emotionally abusing a child, effectively. And this happens throughout the country. It's not actually unique to us, although ours are quite stark examples. And you can see how desperate they're getting, because we're only really getting started now, and the more depraved they get, the more degenerate they get, the more that we go deeper into this system. And I think they know that their time is coming to an end, but they're still willing to be sufficiently degenerate to emotionally torture a client to try to survive that bit longer. And as a reminder that it's the gross abuse of office of Rachel Hudson in accepting falsified, unsigned evidence, blocking anything that we could do to defend ourselves and so on. We've got a lot of footage on that and a lot of history on Rachel to go through. That's alongside the exposure I've done on the FCA and how they elevate their own reputation above the welfare of victims of financial scandal. All that's brought police state terror to the door. And the Pink Panther policing of Northumbria Police. I've actually got an interesting video coming tomorrow showing how this coordinated coercion, including Northumbria Police, has sorry, the sun's bleaching me a bit, fits together. And you'll see the extraordinary corruption that's attached to all this. But firstly, we've been a while since we were allowed to see our younger daughter, because they punished us for standing up to the cultural genocide and emotional abuse of her. The Friday night before the meeting on the Saturday, we received this email, WhatsApp from Deirdre Ryan. I'll quote it to you. Hi, won't say because it was to my wife. I just wanted to let you know that may want to meet for just an hour tomorrow. She may also change her mind and stay for the duration when she's there, which is supposed to be 2 hours. They always chop things off. They don't have the humanity to observe it properly. Please don't say anything to her about this, as it will make her feel uncomfortable. I just wanted to prepare you for this in case she wants to leave after an hour. We didn't say anything like that, but she showed absolutely no knowledge or doubt. She was delighted to see us. She was hugging as if her life depended on it, because they strip all the emotion out of these children. That's a vital thing they do. And remember, local authorities and the police were complicit in a heavy way in the rape gang scandal as well, which we'll come to in the coming months. So what they're trying to do here is it's a classic example of how they try, the depravity of how they try to destroy the emotional attachment between the child and the parent, to try to remove all the friction and make them an efficiently traded cash generative asset with private equity owned agencies. I want to move on to another, because during this meeting, sorry, I'll just have to do this a bit. And the sun's got a bit intense. During this meeting, my wife has elderly parents, and it's nice to offer them some assistance wherever possible. Remember that Tyneside Council have done everything they can to obstruct and destroy the attachment, the Polish heritage side, with full complicity of Rachel Hudson, as we'll come to. What I said is, look, she has to fit it around her work and try to do it at a time when she can go and be productive and help them and so on. It's just family, humanity. I said, it's just humanity. And she said, oh, can we adjust the next meeting so I can go and help my parents? They're elderly. Then as elderly people, they have the challenges of varying natures. For confidentiality, I won't go fully into that. So an act of humanity, you might say. And this is what she had back. And again, I'll knock out the key bits. Afternoon. So this came from a colleague of Ryan's, but Ryan will be aware of it, I would imagine. It's hard to believe she wasn't. And the legal team, of course, who are ultimately making these decisions. And we'll come to that as we progress through this depraved situation. I have spoken to my manager, and the session that you are missing due to being on holiday, not on holiday, actually going to help elderly parents who really do need some help, I won't quote the date, will not be rearranged, as this is a Poppy Fields policy. Thank you. There's a few things here. It's a clear, gross violation of the Human Rights Act, now under ECHR, right to family life. They're trying to make my wife make an unnecessary decision between seeing her daughter and her elderly parents, which is an extreme act of depravity. I'm sure you all agree on that. The other interesting thing is this Poppyfield Centre and the manager. There's been issues here in the past because we've got some very interesting correspondence to dissect that South Tyneside Council sent to the Polish consulate, and I look forward to doing that quite soon. But early in this case, after the younger daughter was snatched, there was the and I do use the term snatch because effectively she's stolen by an illegitimate corrupt process. And other people will say that throughout the country. It's not a controversial thing to say. The meetings were in this poppy field. It's a very dirty place. Usually smells of cigarettes because the manager at the time, so on. And one of the sessions, which was I think in February 22, when they'd actually been shamed into providing some Polish interpreters. Actually, my wife, the interpreter, and daughter were treated very, very badly by a staff member called Alison McAlpine, who shouted that Polish couldn't be used and things like that. And daughter was tremendously upset, and my wife was in tears. Daughter was in tears, saying, "I'm too scared to speak Polish." And it was an act of extraordinary racism and bigotry. I was incredibly embarrassed, and so was the Polish interpreter, who's quite an elderly but very, very respectful lady. And we never received an apology from that. And it shows you again that this deeply held prejudice and bigotry in this system. And this is what happens when people who are willing to behave with extreme depravity genuinely believe they are unaccountable and can operate outside of normal legal frameworks. And this is what happens. So that's it for now. And I do have some interesting correspondence to share going back in the summer when I complained to the FCA about coordinated coercion. They encouraged me to go to Northumbria Police, and I said, well, that's not going to happen because they're actually part of it, and how I've subsequently been proven correct. Take care. Bye.